Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now, get insight into their daily habits, and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. This episode might be a surprise to you. The ethical way to wholesale real estate. Yes, Jonathan Greene giving you tips on wholesaling. It sounds like a miracle. But I wanted to peel back the onion and explain how I think you can build a valid wholesale business right now. This is episode 351 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And today we have a solo show, but I'm going to tell you right up front, we've got a lot of bookings in the hopper. So I've done a lot of solo shows recently, but there's a bunch coming soon. But today I'm going to talk to you about the ethical way to wholesale real estate. Why is this important? I rail on wholesalers all the time. I rail on wholesaling as a business because at least where I am, the wholesalers are generally terrible. And in a lot of areas they are. You're going to find out why I think wholesalers bad. And this isn't about whether wholesaling is ethical or not. There's obviously a way to do it. It's a valid business model. If you do it, you do have to be careful if you have a real estate license and check with your brokerage because usually that's not going to be allowed. But I'm going to give you my guidance on if you want to do wholesaling. This is the way that I would do it if I was going to do it. And I think this is a way where you could take the stain off of the business if you do it this way. I've got 10 different things that I'm going to go over that I believe can help create an ethical wholesaling business. And you know that wholesaling does not have a good reputation. And these things are why. Obviously, to give you the reasons, I'm going to go over what I think is wrong with the current wholesaling situation. And look, there's always going to be an argument that wholesaling is practicing real estate without a real estate license. I understand that, but we're talking about a business model. Is this a potential business model out there? Yes, there's a lot of wholesaling courses. There are a lot of wholesaling gurus. I think they're probably selling you up the river because no one's teaching the ethical way. And this is the mindful approach to real estate investing. Let's get it. My first real show about wholesaling on my own because I'm usually just not into it. So let's go. The ethical way to wholesale real estate. These are not in any order. They're just 10 points that I came up with while I was creating the show that I think give you an idea of how you can do it better. So, and full transparency, I've never wholesaled. I've never wanted to be a wholesaler. I have bought deals and I've had clients who bought deals from wholesalers. I have a lot of experience with wholesalers, mostly in New Jersey because that's where I live. But it's an interesting business. I don't think it's an easy business. I think it's much harder than people expect. Let's go. So number one is a catchphrase that I created while I was writing it. This is it. Become a bridge, not a toll booth. If you understand wholesaling, I think that's got to sink in. Become a bridge, not a toll booth. A bridge is what connects two things. You want to be a bridge between the seller and the end buyer, whoever that is. If you're a toll booth, you're just waiting in the middle with your hand out to get paid. And that's what 90 to 98% of the wholesalers are doing. They're trying to get the biggest spread possible so they can cash out and allegedly go flip houses or invest in multifamilies. But that's not the way that you create an ethical, strong business foundation. The way that you do it is by being a bridge. I often call it a conduit. You're the middle person. And in order to be the middle person, you have to do the other things that I'm going to talk about on this list. Become a bridge, not a toll booth. If you're the toll booth operator, you're pretty annoyed. It's boring. It's hot in there. All you want to do is take people's money. I know they don't really have them anymore because we have Easy Pass, but if you're as old as I am, you remember pulling up and having to give someone like $2 and then giving you 25 cents in change. And, then you're throwing it into the booth, throwing it into that little, big catcher's mitt and missing, and then have to get out of the car and pick it up. Just be happy if you've only dealt with Easy Pass in your life, young people. So become a bridge, not a toll booth. And always think of that first. There's a reason that it's first. You are the bridge between two things. In wholesaling, you're a bridge between the seller and the buyer. Just quick aside, if you've never heard of wholesaling real estate, just think about wholesaling in any type of atmosphere. It's being a conduit to get something for cheaper, basically. Don't really need to go over what actually transpires. A wholesaler puts a property under contract from a seller with them, and then they assign that contract to an end buyer. It's supposed to be all transparent. We're going to get to that. So before we move on, I'm going to tell it to you one more time. Whenever you think of wholesaling, if you're a wholesaler, think of this first. Become a bridge, not a toll booth. Number 2, learn, know, and perfect your numbers. I think my biggest gripe with wholesalers is that they don't know rehab costs, and they definitely don't know ARV. So my common complaint is that your rehab costs are way too low and your ARV is way too high, because that's how they think they're going to fool some schlub into the deal where they can get a 40K spread on something they should get a 5K spread on. So you have to learn. First of all, that means you need to know a contractor, be around contractors, be around electricians, be around plumbers, understand what HVAC costs, understand what insulation costs, know what it is to put in a driveway. How much does a roof cost? What is it when you need foundation repairs? Because if you know all those things, if you learn them, know them, and then you perfect your numbers, you're going to be a great wholesaler if you do the other things. The reason why you'll be a great wholesaler is because you're going to get the best business, because people like me who would consider buying from a wholesaler will immediately give them the finger if their numbers are stupid. There's good numbers, there's okay numbers, and then there's just like you're off your rocker numbers. And most of it is you're off your rocker with the ARV, where you're saying, oh, you can definitely turn this into a 5-bedroom when 3 of the bedrooms will be like 1 inch. And first of all, they're never going to be, the town's not going to agree to a 5-bedroom on a town card. So there's kind of like aspirational in reality, and then aspirational, you're out of your mind, you don't know anything about real estate. And that's what you really have to be against. I mean, really think of this. As a wholesaler, you're putting a contract on a house, and then you're selling that house to someone else by representing basically what needs to get done to it so you can justify the spread in the middle and also for it to be a good deal. So how can you do that if you don't understand construction costs? You definitely can't. And how can you do that if you're not licensed and you can't look up ARV, like actual comps that sold on the market? Because most people who buy from wholesalers, not all, are going to flip that property, turn it out on the market, and they're going to be looking at the ARV as sold comps. The smartest thing to do after you've learned, known, and perfect your numbers, if you're not licensed, because again, that's dicey, and you have a licensed agent who's going to help you sell it, you're going to have them create a package, and they can create a package that can help you sell that. If you don't have someone that you know or a friend who can give you the real comps, so you can say the addresses and they can look them up on sites like Zillow and Redfin to see what happened to them and that they really did sell for that, you can't just make up comps. I've seen comps in there, people comping out 4-bed, 3-baths to a 4-bed, 3-bath that was 1,000 square foot less, had no finished basement, no attic, no backyard. It's silly. Like, just don't be stupid. Just make actual comparable sales. That's why they're called comparable. If you have a 2-car garage and then the other comp property has no garages, it's not a comp. Okay, we're not appraisers. We're not going to add the values. Just find comps. It's not that hard. If you're on a 1-acre lot in a town that has small lots, that's a huge difference than having a 0.11 acre lot. There's a big difference, because then you're going to have more impervious cover. That means you can add on more if you have a small house on a big lot. So a lot of extra things to know. This is why you have to learn, know, and perfect your numbers. If your numbers are right and you're not trying to take too big of a swing, which I think comes up next. If you know your numbers and you're not trying to take too big of a swing, you will get respect in the business. You'll be relied upon by the best investors, and you don't want to hope that you sell to someone who's dumb. If that's your business plan, I guarantee you're going to go out of business. It only lasts so long for you to hoodwink people. If you're reliable and your numbers are right, you'll really only need one or two clients. They'll just buy everything that you have and they won't have to do the work for themselves. Think about it that way. Number three, what I just kind of prefaced, stop swinging for the fences. That means, why are you going for a home run every time? Why are you trying to get the biggest spread on your first deal? Because you're greedy and you don't know anything. Don't swing for the fences. Try to get singles. Your first 5 wholesale deals should be just soft singles. If it was me, and I know I've said this on other podcasts and on my own as well, I would be just looking for $5,000 on my first deal. If I got $5,000 on my first deal, I would consider that a huge win. And I would say over your first 5 deals, if you sold them all out for $5,000 and your end buyer crushed it and made like 70 grand, you don't go weep into your cereal in the morning. You know that you're providing a service. You go find 5 more properties. And next time you tell them, no, I gave you 2 at 5, you made 70. That's going to be 15 the next time, because now you have a track record of being able to find deals, get them under assignment, and sell them out without many problems. And part of that is doing your own due diligence on the property and not leaving everything up to the end, because it's not going to close if you haven't done your due diligence and you pass on a bunch of issues to your end buyer who will never buy from you again. So don't go for a home run. Don't try to overload it and do less deals. Try to do more deals, get more experience, and take small cuts. Take little cuts out of the pie or the cake. Those are pretty good too. You don't gain as much weight. You feel better about yourself. You can even go jogging afterwards. Stop swinging for the fences. Build up from a single, double, triple, and then when you're juiced and you're on the sauce, you go for the homer, and then eventually you hit the grand slam on a luxury wholesale. Number 4, think smaller. Now, when I say think smaller, I'm not talking about the size of the house. Whatever you're looking for, that's your bag on wholesale, and you should have kind of a house avatar in terms of what you're looking for. I'm saying think smaller in terms of your lists. The lists that you want to build for both sellers and buyers should be smaller. You want to micro market and micromanage your lists instead of doing spray and pray. Spray and pray as a wholesaler, if you have the money, does work. You'll go on a bunch of shitty appointments, but you will close enough deals to make it work. But you have to have a lot of money to keep sending 10 to 15,000 postcards a month for that to work. And if you don't have the money to do that consecutively for a year, it's not going to work out for you. So if that's going to be most of you, which it is, because most wholesalers don't say, hey, I want to wholesale and I got a truckload of money in the back that I'm just going to unload into this business. That's usually not the case. You want to think smaller. And I'm talking seller lists and buyer lists. So seller list, start to market in an area that you know the most, because you're going to know more people. That means you have better references when you're talking direct to sellers. You can say, oh yeah, do you know so-and-so, they live one street over. Oh, actually, I do know them. Now you're making relationships. If you're doing micro lists in some area that you have no reference to, you really have nothing to say in a conversation. You're just making stuff up. You can go on Google Maps and fake it, but they'll catch you, because you'll say, oh yeah, the Wawa's down at the end. And they say like, oh, that's been gone for 18 months. You look like an idiot. So I would build micro lists in areas that you're familiar with. That's to find sellers. Make sure that you have things that you can talk about locally, because that's how you build rapport. And then when you're going to make a buyer's list, everyone will, oh, should I make a buyer's list or seller's list first? Yes, both. You need to make both, because the only way you're doing business is if you have both. Find sellers and find buyers. But people kind of go stupid in their buyer lists, and they're taking, brand new people onto a buyer list, first time investors. That's never going to work out. You want to do everything that you can to network with just between 1 and 5 solid local investors. You'll find them at local meetups. You'll find them around doing flips and stuff. You want to find the person who's flipping the most. If you can't, you just see what agent's listing the most flip properties. Ask them who the flipper is. Say, hey, I'm a wholesaler in the area. I'm going to find properties that suit. Tell me what you're looking for and I'll go find it. That is a great way to prove yourself to that end buyer list. And you do not need a big buyer list. If you're going to be an ethical, good business person doing wholesaling, you're probably going to need less than 5 buyers. You may think that's crazy. I will grab someone to get on the show and tell you, if you have a local home flipper who is high volume doing, say, 6 to 10 flips at a time, and they don't have to do the marketing themselves, and you'll dial them up and take 5, 10, 15 on some big swings, you're going to be in business for a long time if you get good at your job. And that's where it becomes another part of the people game. You have to be good building a seller list. You have to be smart building a buyer list. The funniest thing I've seen over the years, especially on Bigger Pockets and the forums, is people talking about and trying to get me on a buyer's list when they have no properties and no track record. Like, do you want to get on my email list? Yeah, let me just sign up for bullshit spam. Pass. You've never done a transaction. You have no properties in the pocket. So why would I sign up to be on your buyer's list? Because it's impressive that you're going to do something. No, you need to have a lot of stuff in the hopper while you're building a buyer's list. So you have to be doing it all simultaneously. Number 5, this one's going to be really tough for a lot of you who are in the wholesaling game. And I'll tell you why it makes sense, because this is how I've lived my life and it will suit you better. It's just never lie. I know that's going to be hard because you actually have to explain how wholesaling works, and you have to tell the seller, I'm going to pay you X. I'm going to turn around and sell it for X plus 20K. Are you okay with that if you get X and I get X plus 20? If they say no, that's not going to be a great seller for you because they're going to see it at the closing, and it's not a good practice to just wait till then to screw them over. You want to explain how assignment works. Explain that you're going to be getting some overage because you're going to be the person who's the bridge. You're going to bridge them to buyers without having to have them put it on the market, do open houses. You're going to take care of it. And if you're the bridge costs money. You're not going to be the toll booth collector because you're going to be a very reasonable bridge. You're going to connect them. And because you go over the bridge, you still have to pay the toll. Never lie. Don't lie about the property. Don't lie about the ARV. Don't lie about the repair costs. Don't lie about your sweet buyer lists. Don't lie. If it's your first wholesale, tell them it's your first wholesale, but you're going to be a hustler and you think you can get it done. And if you can't, you're going to bring in help from another person who has more experience, but you really feel like you got it. Remember, you don't have days on market as a wholesaler. You can reach out for help after a week if you're getting confused. Never lie. If you go into wholesaling and you never lie, you're going to become a local asset. This is the ethical way to wholesale real estate. That was the first 5. Let me go over them before we take a quick break. 1, become a bridge, not a toll booth. 2, learn, know, and perfect your numbers. 3, stop swinging for the fences. 4, think smaller. 5, never lie. Let's take a quick break. Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this surprise wholesale episode on Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. On this brief interlude, I just wanted to remind you that wherever you listen to podcasts, you have different options. I'll really just talk about 2. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, the best thing to do there is to leave a review or share it with your friends. If you listen on Spotify, you can do both of those things, but you can also leave comments on each episode, and I read those myself and respond to them myself. So wherever you listen to podcasts, I hope you interact. I hope you follow the podcast. I hope you leave reviews when you find something interesting. And if you're on Spotify, I hope you leave a comment for me because I'll respond. Let's get back to the show. We are back with 6 through 10 on the ethical way to wholesale real estate. And it's just funny that I'm doing a show on wholesaling because I've railed on it for so long, but I've bought deals from wholesalers. I have a client who still holds a 4-family that we bought from wholesalers. I've rented that property as an agent maybe 7 times because I rent all the units when they come up. It's coming up again soon. And that was a great deal. It was a great deal. It was a win-win. Wasn't hard to negotiate at all. We just went straight forward. I know how to negotiate with off-market sellers and intermediaries and wholesalers, all the types. I bought a deal when I was kind of doing off-market acquisition. I eventually canceled the deal. If you've listened to my cancel shows, I cancel a lot of deals because sellers do crazy stuff. But in the one that I canceled, I was under contract on a 4-family. This is like maybe close to 8-9 years ago. and I was starting to plan what I was going to do. When my kids eventually graduated, I thought I was going to go to California. My sister and I had bought an investment property in California for me to go live in. And I was under contract on this 4-family in an area near me in New Jersey. And I was like, I don't need this if I'm going to move. So I canceled the deal. I think I gave him $2,500 because I was pretty far along. And then I never moved to California, and I'm still here in New Jersey. So, I should have kept that property. It wasn't great. It would have had some CapEx things, but I would have doubled my money by now if I held on to it. So that's just a little wholesale transparency. Let's get back to the back five. It is kind of like never lie, but it's a little bit different. It's be transparent. So transparency and not lying are different. You could interpret never lie to just being don't lie if someone asks you a question. You just answer the question, but you could withhold information. Being transparent is not withholding information. It's making the whole process transparent. It goes back to the start of what I was saying in number 5, which is make sure you're being transparent about how wholesaling works, what your role is, why you're the bridge. You're the conduit that keeps the deal together, that keeps them. Because look, you probably sold them on, hey, you want to sell off market? I'm going to help you. They didn't want to go on the market. They don't want to have open houses. They don't want a lockbox on. They don't want to sign in the yard. They want to keep it quiet. It's a mess inside. It's a cat piss house. It's a smoker house, whatever. You have to teach them and show them by being transparent that this is the process. You're going to get a much better trust relationship. And we all know that the trust relationship is terrible between wholesalers and off-market sellers. Because you know what you see in a lot of emails when it comes out? It's like, don't talk directly to the seller. Don't have any contact with the seller at all. And then you get there and the seller just hanging out in a sun chair and you're like, hello. And then the wholesaler gets mad as if they have, a stick to stand on. It's just that you're just being greedy and crazy. Be transparent about the whole process. You can prove to them that you've got buyers by bringing a buyer with you on the appointment. I think that's a great idea. That's something that I used to do when I was calling on FSBOs. I would say like, yeah, I'll come over for a visit. I'll bring someone who's interested in that house. And then I would do it. That builds trust. What you want to do is build trust, never lie, number 5, and be transparent, number 6. That means being ahead of the game, not just answering correctly to what they say, but thinking ahead for things that they're going to say and transparently telling them, hey, this is what's going to come up later. It looks like you're in pre-foreclosure, so we need to make sure with your lender that have you covered, that we know the amount that we have to get, including the fees, and you go direct to the lender, you get them to do it, you get the document so you know exactly what it'll take to avoid what they're going through, to avoid the foreclosure, pay it off before the courthouse auction. Number 7, know your value proposition. I think this one is very underrated. I think people just think, hey, I quote, allegedly have cash, which most wholesalers don't. But, they're taught in these wholesaler guru bullshit courses to say I'm cash buyer. You're not a cash buyer unless you have cash. Hard money is not cash. It acts like cash. It's not cash. There's an appraisal. Someone's doing an appraisal. So don't bullshit them. Know your value proposition. What are you good at? Are you the bridge? Are you a good conduit? Or do you have a really big buyers list and you're going to go do a cattle call one day and just put them all in one day of showings, try to get it done that way? You just have to know what parts of the kind of proposition that you're best at. Maybe you work in a group with a couple people and some of you are better at other parts of it, but you have to understand your value proposition. And part of that is the last one, being transparent about what you do, what the process is like, and why it's a better move for them if they don't want to do showings and they don't want to pay an agent and they don't want to do X and Y and they don't have to pay an agent, but that's why you're going to get your cut where you think smaller and you just get a nice thing. You don't swing for the fences and you get $5K or you get $10K. But you have to understand your value proposition to the wholesaler. What type of money are you bringing to the table to hold the property, if you are at all? Where's that money going to go? Who's holding it? Are you faking it or not? Don't trick people. Don't lie. Be transparent. Know your value proposition. Number 8, one of my least favorite things. This is fine in land flipping, by the way, because you can really, there's nothing there. If you're just talking about vacant land, I don't mind if you do this in land flipping. I hate this for wholesaling. It's don't send offers before you see the house. Why? Because you're going to go and the basement's going to be an absolute disaster. So then you're going to change your offer and then you're going to look untrustworthy. So I used to do off-market acquisitions pretty hard, and I'd be on a lot of calls. I was very experienced in terms of my real estate knowledge. They would always ask me, well, what price are you going to give me? And every time I would tell them the same thing. Bob, how could I give you a price for something I haven't seen? Do you think I'm stupid? And then they would say, oh yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. They're like, well, what's the ballpark? I'm like, I don't know what the ballpark is. I've not been to your house. I can look online and I can see what the value is, and I tell them what the alleged value is right now. But I said you could have never done repairs for 12 years, or you could have had great upkeep and you're in perfect shape. That could be a $50K difference. So, Bob, the only way that I can find out if we're going to be able to help you and be the bridge for you is for me to come out and see the property. What's the skin off your back? I come out, see it. I tell you a price that you don't think is right, and then we part ways as friends. No problem. I have the time to do that. Don't send an offer before you see the house by just saying, oh, well, this says this. I'm going to do that, minus 50%. So I'll give you 200K, and then you show up and realize that it's next to a police station. And also there's a graveyard in back and it's on a busy road. And you didn't know that before. And now you've told someone you're going to give them 200. I tell you what, they want the 200. They're not going to want the 150. You're not closing that deal. That's why you don't give them a price up front and you don't send offers before you see the house. Never, ever. It's a stupid business practice that doesn't work for real wholesalers. You show up. You can always, like I said, you can go over. They know what the thing is. They're on Zillow. They look at their Zestimate probably every day if they're desperate to sell. They're looking and checking. They understand what the ballpark is. So do you. What you don't know is what is the upkeep of the house or the property. Until you know the upkeep, there's no way that you can tell somebody a price. That's like you're going to buy a used car and you tell them, I'll give you 40K before you had a mechanic look at it. And then you find out, oh, you get the Carfax and it's been in 3 accidents. You're not paying the 40K. So why did you offer 40K? You think every home seller is going to tell you the truth? They all think their house is in great shape until you get there and realize there's not even anything. There's just a subfloor because the termites ate through the regular floor 6 years ago. Welcome to wholesaling. Number 9, there's so many things I hate about this. It's shocking. Number 9, stop daisy chaining. Daisy chaining is the worst. And it's just so annoying and stupid. Do you know what daisy chaining is? Well, there's definitely like a weird connotation for daisy chaining, but in the wholesale world, daisy chaining is multiple wholesalers, quote, selling the same property or assigning the same property. So there's been so many times I get an email from Fred, 123 Main Street, 210, whatever. Then Bob sends an email, 123 Main Street. Oh, shocking, another wholesaler with the same property. It's because they agree to share the cut to spread it out to their networks. What does that do? Waters the whole thing down, especially when they're stupid and they have different prices. You can't daisy chain as a wholesaler. If you can't sell the property, just get rid of it. Give it to someone else and let them do it. Don't have 3-4 wholesalers on the same daisy chain like they're riding one of those 4-person bikes and look ridiculous. You're not going, swinging through a park on that bike, and you don't need to daisy chain a wholesale deal. If you need to daisy chain a wholesale deal, you suck at your job. You're not doing the job that you're supposed to, and you took too high a spread, and now you're trying to spread that spread across other people. But guess what? The price is the same, and nobody wants it. So if you can't get the job done, don't daisy chain. Just tell a friend, hey, I can't get the job done. You want to take a crack at this? Just give them it. They'll give you one later. You never know. Sometimes it's just a personality mix. Sometimes it's a different list. They have a different set of buyers, but you don't have to daisy chain. Don't put it on both people's lists. If you share a fee, whatever, that's between you, but don't do it through the daisy chain process. It looks stupid and just makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. If you see it on 2 wholesale lists, you're both not good at your job. That's pretty clear. Number 10, and the most obvious, but it's really not to most people, build a business. If you want to be an ethical wholesaler, you have to be a business person and you have to think like a business person. What do business people do to be good at their job? They build bridges, not toll booths. They don't swing for the fences. They learn, know, and perfect their numbers, and no matter what field they're in, They think small because thinking small is the way that you build a foundation. They don't lie. They're transparent. They understand their value proposition. They don't offer things before they know what the end game is. And they don't share with other people on the same thing. They don't daisy chain. Build a business. Go in and build your business before you even start finding buyers and sellers. What's the goal? What area are you looking to work in? What types of properties are you looking in? How are you going to finance the bridge? Where are you going to get that money? Who else are you going to talk to that might be of assistance to you in this business? Are you going to hire any employees? Do you want VAs to call? Are you going to call? If you hire VAs, how are you going to train them? Are you going to do any pre-research on wholesaling in the area to make sure that it's legal? In some states, it's not. Very few, but in some states, they are very much against it. But if you follow these rules for the ethical way to wholesale real estate, you're going to be in a lot better shape because guess what? You're going to do 1 through 9, and that's going to give you number 10. If you do those steps, you are building a business. And the way that you want to do real estate and really anything is by building a business. I always say it to my agents at my brokerage. You have to treat this like a business, not a job. It's the same for house flippers, same for wholesalers, same for real estate agents. If people know that it's a job, it means you're not locked in. You're just trying to get a paycheck. You're swinging for the fences. If you're treating it like a business, you're a long-term thinker. You think small, you act slow, you move slow, you don't lie, you're transparent. This is how to build an ethical wholesale real estate business. I hope this has been helpful. And I promised you, we have guests coming in hot. I think I'm 8 deep now booked. So we're going to have more interviews for you soon. But I hope these solo episodes have been fun. I've had a great time. And now actually I think about it, I really enjoyed this one. I hope this helps someone, just one person out there, change the trajectory of their wholesale business, become more professional, build a business, make better relationships, be more successful, and get to where you want to get. See you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on the next episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And it's my good friend, Henry Washington. You probably know him from See You at the Closing Table and as the co-host of the Bigger Pockets podcast now with Dave Meyer, and from On the Market on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and from countless speaking events because Henry's a busy guy. I love talking to him. We always have a fun time, and we're going to be at it next episode. We'll see you there.